Good morning, it's Wisdom Wednesdays. I am Ariana Newcomer, Dove Oracle Priestess, biofield tuning practitioner, and spiritual mentor. And my topic today is the Death card. I was guided to draw a card from the Fairies Oracle deck to talk about today on Wisdom Wednesdays, and what should come up but the Death card. So it's always really interesting to draw a card. So this is the Death card from Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle. This is the book that goes with it. And I was just thinking about what chaos is going on in these times and how the energies are just swirling like crazy. And I was reminded this morning that some people are thinking that there are some pretty big fluctuations going on in Earth's magnetic fields right now. Some people are thinking that it means that the magnetic poles, are about to flip. And they have done this several different times over Gaia's history. So it's not an unknown thing. But we have not experienced it as humans, I think, in recorded history. So we don't know what's going to happen when the poles flip. However, all those fluctuations in the earth energy are definitely affecting us and making a lot of us feel kind of unmoored and having a hard time grounding. I'm finding this with a lot of clients in my biofield tuning sessions. The first thing we do is connect to earth and get ourselves grounded, and then connect to the sun and cosmic energies so that we can get those two energies flowing up from earth and down from sun, cosmos, that are our birthright, these energies that we rely on. But what do we do when those energies from earth are just kind of chaotic? So in answer to that question, asking of the fairy oracles, comes the Death card. So here is the reading from the book. Scary, eh? Before you panic, let's remember that if it were not for death and her hard work, we would all be up to our ears in alligators, mayflies, each other, and just about everything else. Without her to clear the world, there would be no room for growth or new life. This applies to all the realms: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and other. And this is one of the reasons why I love the goddess Kali. Kali is one of my favorite female goddesses, and she could be considered a dark goddess. And she is also a goddess of death, but in this sense of clearing what doesn't serve so that there can be room for the new to come in. The Death card in all oracles, fairy, tarot, and other, does not usually signify actual physical death. In fact, that is rarely the meaning. Rather, it indicates a significant change, one that involves letting go of the old life in order to move forward into the new. What we really fear about death is the unknown, the what next of it all. And this is, so much of what I'm feeling right now is what in the world is next with everything that's going on. We may be experiencing great pain as a result of holding on to aspects of life we have outgrown. But humans tend to hold on anyway because we don't know what is next. We want guarantees, and instead we get open doors into unknown, darkened spaces. Yet when we go through these doors, closing them behind us, we discover a whole new world, one in which we can grow and develop into more of what we have the potential of being. So here we see death, her face hidden, without form, holding a dark crystal ball. She herself cannot see the future. So here's that card again. You can see she's holding this, what Brian Froud says is a dark crystal ball. So it's just another reminder to be willing to let go, to be willing to allow to pass away what isn't serving, to allow that clearing to take place. And sometimes it does feel like destruction. Sometimes it feels chaotic. Sometimes it feels like a certain kind of death. So this is a great reminder for me right now, and I hope that it is helpful for you. And one of the other things that is just very important for us all to do now is to continue to do our practices that help us ground and center, our meditations, and for me, I do a lot with my tuning forks. I tune myself every morning, and I find that really, really helpful. So to remember that in order for next year's daffodils to come up, last year's daffodils have to die and go back into the ground. Of course, they go back into the bulb, and the bulb then blooms again in the next spring. My daffodils are blooming now here in California. Of course, it's early for those of you on the East Coast or up further in the north. But I just love daffodils, those little bright sunshiny faces. They're just like little bits of sunshine. And I bring a few into my kitchen, and they remind me about this renewal, the renewal that comes. So this is a time, as we are in the Northern Hemisphere, we're moving into spring. Even if your daffodils aren't up yet, we're moving into spring. But the winter in the Northern Hemisphere is a time of allowing things to die back so that new growth can come in the spring. And of course, with our trees that drop their leaves and with our bulbs, things like daffodils, they haven't actually died usually. They are resting. They're doing their winter retreat into the core of self. And trees actually grow a lot underground during the winter. They tend to grow roots in the winter, and so then they can have their leaves grow again in the spring. So allowing things to release that haven't served us is so valuable and important. And it could be something as big as a relationship that isn't serving anymore. It could be simpler things like habits that aren't serving anymore. And I have gotten out of the habit of doing my daily meditations and gotten out of the habit of doing enough exercise. So those are even simple things to shift and let go that will then help me to better withstand, isn't really the word I want, understand and align with the energies that are shifting so that I can stay more centered and clear. And this is also something that is a fundamental piece of biofield tuning, which is we can use these tuning forks to actually help us become aware of things that are still stuck out in our energy field. So we can do a lot of work on things. I work with a lot of people who've done a lot of inner work. We do our inner work, and yet there still can be energies from those original traumas or events that are still stuck out in our fields and are still inhibiting our flow, our energetic flow, and our ability to be fully energetically coherent and harmonious. So doing biofield tuning, receiving a biofield tuning can be a really helpful thing in also helping to release the things that don't serve on the next level. And I remember that our personal growth journey, our inner work, is really never done. It's a lifelong journey. And I used to just beat myself up when some old issue would come back around again, and I would say, oh man, I thought I had cleared that one. I thought I'd healed that. I thought I was done with that. And then it'll come up again at some later point in my life. And I finally realized, okay, this is an ongoing work that we're doing. And the path is actually a spiral path. And I learned to look at this as, okay, next time this issue comes up, there's something else to learn and some other piece of it to heal, a deeper layer, perhaps, or a higher layer, perhaps, to learn something from. But I am not at the same place. I'm not going in a circle. I'm on a spiral path, and I am moving upward in the spiral path, and I'm at the next level of the spiral when that issue comes around. So I mostly stopped beating myself up about that. And I talked in another Wisdom Wednesdays about how beating ourselves up and judging ourselves or judging each other, or beating someone else up in order to try and motivate them to be better is just a terrible, horrible, awful way to treat yourself or anyone else. So as we have received this message from the death card today, just give some thought to what are things that you can let go of now. What are some things that you could release that would allow the new growth to come in for you, would give space and room for something new to come in for you. And I often suggest during a biofield tuning that people do what I call Kali breaths. It's kind of like the lion's breath from yoga. But Kali is usually depicted with her tongue out like this. And she usually has a severed head in one hand. She wears either a necklace or belt of skulls. And she has her foot on either a man or a demon, depending on what the tradition is, that she's just killed, the severed head that she has in her hand, and a sword. So Kali is incredibly, incredibly strong. And I'd like to suggest that when some intense issues come up, something intense, we encounter something intense in the field, let's do some Kali breaths. And just let out. Now, don't scream. I don't want you to hurt your voice. Okay? Not too loud, but just like this. And see if we can embrace the necessary death of what no longer serves, of what we need to release. If you'd like to experience biofield tuning and see what that can do to help you release what isn't serving, I would be delighted to talk with you. There will be a link in the comments where you can book a conversation. See you next time.